So, let's welcome to the stage our guest, Vader's favorite apprentice, Sam Witwer. Hi. How's it going? Hello there. Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
Welcome. How are you feeling, sir?
Good. Feeling good.
How are you feeling?
Feeling wonderful. It's June in Texas, so you're actually witnessing a much cooler Texas right now than we're used to. So it's actually going pretty well.
Great. It's probably some of that dark side energy, you know, rolling.
Sucking the life out of it.
Yeah.
I am a sucker for great audition stories. Andy Serkis is down here this weekend. He has one of the best for his audition with Gollum. And you, sir, have one of my favorites. Can you please tell everyone who hasn't heard it yet the story of how you scored your first voice acting role in Star Wars?
Oh,
And it also involves David Collins, by the way.
yeah. So, basically, Lucasfilm wanted to do this video game, and they had a bunch of crazy ideas. I mean, for one thing, they had George approve the idea of a secret apprentice for Darth Vader, so that was a big move. Secondly, they decided they wanted to hire actors who not only could sound the part, but also looked the part physically, could physically embody the roles. They wanted all of their cast to be like that. And then thirdly, they wanted to sort of promote this like it was a movie. So, I just got a call from David Collins one day. Hey man, can you talk? Yeah, I'm at my brother's rehearsal dinner. Yeah, it's Star Wars stuff. Okay, hold on for a second. Yeah. And I go out, I'm like, what's going on? Darth Vader is a secret apprentice. What? He's like, I forgot I said that, I'm gonna get fired. Anyway, send me your headshot and resume. So I did. And he's like, it's crazy, man, the character looks like you. Click. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because back then, video games, they just got voice actors who sounded great, and the character looked like whatever it did. So why did I need to look like the character? That made no sense to me. Next thing I know, I get called in for an audition, and they show me the artwork of the character. And I get called in for an audition because David put my headshot in a pile. And at the time I had a shaved head and looked kind of all beat up. And when I got to the audition, I understood why I was there, because they showed me a painting of a character that looked almost exactly like me. I was like, whoa. And they're like, yeah, they're looking at me and I'm looking at that, and it's all the same guy. Anyway, they were happy with how I looked, but could I act, right? And so they were doing a bunch of different scenes, and the lines themselves could have been read in any way that you could read them. It didn't really suggest a character. So I said, you know, I could read this in 50 different ways. And they said, great, let's do that. I'm like, yikes. So then we were just doing the scenes in different ways and different types of characters and all this stuff. And then eventually we got to this meditation scene. And we did it differently, you know, more sort of Darth Maul, Sith apprentice reads, more sort of wide-eyed kid reads, or cynical, not cynical, all over the place. But I started the scene the same way every time. He was supposed to be meditating and assembling his lightsaber. And when I meditated, I remember I was like, just my hands were like this. And after we did the scene like 3 times, the director's like, hey, great, we've been doing the scene different ways each time. Why are you doing this? You know, why are you so tense? You're meditating. I'm curious. Well, every time you started the same way. And I'm like, well, because no matter what type of character you go with, he wasn't trained to meditate. Not like that. He wasn't trained to find inner peace. Vader would not have wanted him to find inner peace.
Exactly.
So he's doing what he thinks meditation is, but this is not how you do it. This is not how the Jedi would have done it. But he thinks this is how it goes. And when I said that, I saw a bunch of Lucasfilm people behind the glass go, which I'm sure they were saying, nerd, 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 nerd.
One of us.
Exactly. Didn't we tell you he's one of us?
I was told that that's when I got the role, when I started nerding out on what the Sith would or wouldn't do.
Absolutely. So very well deserved.
And that was, I mean, the way that we performed that was on camera because we had very primitive mocap tech that ILM had brought in. So that was all on camera stuff. What I didn't know how to do yet was the voiceover stuff that's in game. Like, and I'm gonna give it away. There's a part where we wish we could have gone back and done it. He's on the junk planet and he's running around and Prox is like, this is weird. These droids are all programmed, they're all drawing energy from some unknown energy field. And Starkiller's line is, the Force? And I played it like this, the Force. But when you're playing the game, he's like throwing people and there's like electricity and there's explosions. And I'm like, the Force. And what I have now learned is like, no, you have to give it that physicality, Right. So if he's throwing things, the character may be running, the character may be walking, the character may be throwing something. So you gotta at least give it the Force, something where there's a little activity to it. I didn't know how to do that yet. I didn't know how to do the voice acting thing. So when they took me from Force Unleashed and brought me to Clone Wars, I didn't know how to do that yet. And if it wasn't for Dave Filoni, it would have stopped right then and there because I was brought in to do a character called the Son of Mortis on Clone Wars. And if Dave hadn't, in a moment of lying brilliance, come up with something, he told me this, here, I'll tell you the story. I'm there, and I'm surrounded by Ashley Eckstein, and Matt Lanter, and James Arnold Taylor, and I've been watching the show. I am now a fan of the Clone Wars, right? I've been watching it before they offered me that. Because I thought at first, the Clone Wars isn't for me. But I started watching it, and I'm like, oh no, it is. This is great. So then I meet these people, but it's the season 3 version. I'm watching season 2, but I'm hearing a more mature version of these characters that are like a year older, and you could hear it, and I'm like, oh, these people are really dialed in. They really know what they're doing, and I don't know what I'm doing, and this is going to be terrible. Oh, also, they're telling me that I'm playing the dark side of the Force. The Son of Mortis is supposed to be sort of a manifestation of the power of the dark side. And I'm coming in with not a lot of ideas on how to do that. And so I'm about to deliver a really lackluster performance, and I am convinced that would have been it for me in Star Wars right there, right? Except for the fact that I got so insecure about this that I raised my hand at some point and I said, Dave, can I ask you a question? Dave, who I don't know, he's the hat guy. I'm like, it's that hat guy. Hat guy, can I ask you a question? And he said, yeah, what is it? I said, well, are we concerned that the Son of Mortis, because there were 3 episodes, right? So we're doing episode 1, and he doesn't have that many lines in episode 1. And I said, as far as I'm concerned, I don't really have a take on this character yet, which is terrible, blasphemy. You do not show up to a Star Wars gig without a take on the character. But here I am, no take on the character.
Being the embodiment of the
dark side. Yeah, no pressure. So I'm just like, are we concerned that this character just sounds a little bit just kind of like Starkiller? He just kind of sounds like Starkiller to me. And Dave, I could see Dave process what was happening. He's like, oh, this actor's losing confidence. Can't have that. Cannot have this actor losing confidence in the middle of a record because his performance is just going to spiral out in doubt. So I see Dave invent what because I'm hoping for some reassurance here or some additional guidance. And I see him invent in his mind this very thing. And this is incredible. He goes, well, you gotta understand, Sam, that your character is the dark side of the Force, and Starkiller had a connection to the dark side of the Force. So I feel like it's okay if they sound alike. And at that point, it was like a bolt of lightning. Wow. It was like a bolt of lightning! A bolt of lightning! Because at that point, because I knew he was saying this to say, it's okay, kid, just keep doing what you're doing. But the moment he said that, it was like, but that's the character. If you're hearing Starkiller's voice in the sun, you should hear Palpatine's voice in the sun. You should hear Vader's voice, Dooku's voice, Maul's voice, but subtly. Is there a way to do that? So then I go home and I grab the scripts again and started working on it, right? So if the Son of Mortis had a line like, sister, so I see you brought a friend, I would, what I was doing before was like, sister, so I see you brought a friend, just very generic, but now I went like, sister, so I see you brought a friend. And it was just like a little bit of Vader at the beginning, a little bit of Palpatine at the end. And I was started doing that in the next session we had, and Dave is like, I see what you're doing, Sam. And I'm like, yeah, I should do it less, right? No, do it more. That's how we're gonna get away with this. Just do it more. Keep going.
Yeah.
And it was his idea. And he gave me a future in Star Wars with the idea that he came up with off the top of his head. And it was the only way to play that character. Once I figured that out, I'm like, oh my God, of course. And so there were lines, if you listen to that performance, you can hear what will become the Darth Maul voice in that performance. Right. Because I was trying to do, at times, the Peter Serafinowicz Darth Maul. Just a little bit of it here, a little bit of Vader, a little bit of Dooku, a little bit of, a little bit of Maul. And so after that, we were doing a pickup, and he goes, so you got a lot of friends at Lucasfilm, right, Sam? I'm like, I do, from Force Unleashed. He's like, yeah, have you heard that we're gonna bring Maul back? I'm like, yeah. He said, what do you think about that? I'm like, I don't know, man. He's like, cool. Well, thanks for coming in. Might have something for you down the road. I'm like, oh, like a bounty hunter? He's like, yes. Yeah, Sam, like a bounty hunter. All right, see you later. And I didn't know that what we had done with Mortis made him think, okay, this is Darth Maul. This is the guy for Darth Maul. So he gave me that with that idea. Because again, like I would never walk into a Star Wars role these days without a specific take on the character. But I was so like, I don't know how to voice act that I did. And he gave me my future in Star Wars by inventing that idea right then and there, which was the thing I was looking for. How do you play the dark side of the Force? And he just invented it right there. It's like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Oh my God, that's how we do it. That's how we're gonna do it. So, anyway.
That is great. Absolutely, yeah. So, after hearing that, would you say that the Son of Mortis has been your hardest voice to come up with? Or what do you think has been, sort of like the hardest, like you said, sort of your take on it, dialed in, what this character should sound like?
They're all hard. They're all difficult. Every time we went back to say Darth Maul, I was very apprehensive, always, because it's got to be excellent, I don't know what the hardest one was, to be honest. I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, like Force Unleashed, I remember I forced them into letting me do Palpatine, which must have been terrifying for them. But again, good thing we did, because I had to learn how to do it. Exactly. Which, if you listen to Force Unleashed, it's not as good as it became later, But because they let me do that, that was like the first time I was like, well, let's try to put on a voice. Never tried that before, Oh, okay. But, there's, to this day, there's a line that Hayden Blackman wrote for the Emperor, which was great. He's got all of his enemies arrayed out in front of him, all captured. And he goes, you are all traitors to the Empire. You will be interrogated, tortured. You will give me the names of your friends and your allies. And then you will die. It was because Hayden gave me that opportunity, that set me up to have a little bit of an edge going into Mortis, which I didn't know was coming. I had no idea that was in my future. So thank you, Hayden Blackman, for giving me the opportunities to sort of stretch out my tool set a little bit to be ready for the next opportunity, where Dave Filoni then made me stretch out my tool set a little bit more, which led to the next opportunity, which was Maul. So these people have helped me. Well, thanks so much. They've really helped me.
And you actually ended up, playing some like for Palpatine as well, right?
Yes, my young apprentice.
That gave me chills. I'm sorry.
We have a bunch of fan questions, so I want to make sure we get to some here. Nicole actually wants to know, what are some resources you recommend for beginners just getting into D&D?
D&D? Oh, wow. The stuff that's out there right now, the beginner box sets for D&D are pretty great for getting people steeped in that stuff. I also encourage, and maybe this is foolhardy, but I encourage people to look into some of the older D&D games as well. Like there's a thing called Old School Essentials, which is not the flashiest name, Old School Essentials, but it's a restatement, a reprint, a redo of the original 1981 Moldvay edition of D&D. And it is lethal, it's dangerous, it plays really fast. There's a lot of ways that people can get into it. But I mean, I think that the easiest way would be grab one of the beginner box sets for the 5th edition. And then if you want to get killed right away, play the old stuff from the 80s. Because the rule set, each rule set plays very differently and plays it. You know, like 5th edition is more a little bit super heroic, right? You're doing amazing stunts and all kinds of crazy stuff. The old stuff from the 80s and the late 70s, you're like a bunch of schlubs in ill-fitting armor, and you get stabbed by a spear, and you fall over and die. I mean, it's like if you were, you know, really there. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, spirit of the 80s, right? Too.
That's right.
So, coming up with, you know, more audience questions, we got, speaking a little bit of, you know, other roles, we got a question from the audience saying, what research did you do for being a vampire in The Human?
I read I went down the rabbit hole on drug addiction. That was what the character was supposed to be, essentially a stand-in for a recovering drug addict. That was what that was. And so I was like, yeah, well, let's just play it like that. That's how we do it. That's what that show's about. And in my research, I did not do a bunch of drugs. However, I did get drunk for the first time.
Oh.
And that was a disaster.
First time always is.
Yeah, and I filmed it.
Oh.
Not
Evidence.
pretty. Not pretty. Because I don't drink, right? But I'm like, well, let's find out about this or let's learn about that. Yeah. Me and the toilet got very well acquainted that way. That was incredible. Had a friend on the phone talking me through it. She was so patient. I'm like, I love you, man. It's not good. And afterward, I'm like, I'm glad I don't drink. Let's not drink. Let's not do that. Let's stay that way.
You hear that, kids?
Yeah. I'm glad I don't do drugs. Let's stay there.
There you go.
There you go.
I just had a panel not too long ago with your buddy Tom Welling. What are your fondest memories of working with the Smallville team?
Tom was just really nice and really professional, so it was always a pleasure to be on set with Tom, you know? And I'd heard that about him before I joined the cast. I was like, tell me about people who worked around it, in it, knew the production team. I'm like, tell me about, you know, they're asking me to do this Smallville thing. Tell me about Tom Welling. Like, am I gonna hate this? No, you're loving it. Tom is like the consummate pro. I think he's taken one sick day in 7 years. I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? He was like, yeah, that guy is real deal. And then when I worked with him, I was like, oh yeah, he's real deal. And which was great too, because when I first saw him, I'm like, oh my God, that's Clark Kent. Oh my God, that's Superman. Oh my God, he's so tall. I'm supposed to threaten that guy? I thought at 6'1", surely I could menace this guy, but he's like 6'9" or something. This guy's huge. But he was, you know, what you want from your Superman actor is to have a very down-to-earth, straight shooter. You want that. So that's why Tom can play that character kind of effortlessly, whereas me and Michael Rosenbaum would have to work at it, you know? So anyway, he's fantastic. I love Tom.
A character that actually predates Superman, because I know Tom, he always corrects people. I was never Superman. I was
Clark Kent. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I want to bring you back to Star Wars a little bit, and I want to ask you, out of all the movies, out of all the live-action TV shows, what would be the one prop or the one item you would like to take home?
Prop. Oh.
Just one.
God.
Just one.
Oh, that's. I mean, this is just coming to my mind. This is not because I'm a sicko or anything, but Luke Skywalker's hand with the lightsaber.
Oh.
Look, guys, that's not. I don't know if that's my final answer or anything, but it did jump to my head very quickly. It's disturbingly fast. Disturbingly. Yeah.
Maul. What was that, Darth Maul?
Oh, hey, there you go. But you offer
Just no real human parts, please. Yeah.
They have magnets of that? Oh, wow. That is amazing. Somebody wants to know if you could spend a day with one of your characters, who would you choose?
None of them. None of them. They're all too dangerous. I wouldn't survive the encounter.
Let alone if there's drinking. So.
Oh my God, yeah. No, I mean, can you imagine getting coffee with Darth Maul? That would be disastrous. That would be disastrous.
Or an amazing podcast. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
That's true. Maul should have gone into podcasting. You're right. Yeah. He would have been really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Giving Joe Rogan a run for his money.
And your pal Katie.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. He would crush them under his boots.
Yeah, there you go. So in the past, you've talked about your experience at Juilliard and how one of your teachers for voice acting, right, really influenced and gave you a lot of tools going forward. So what I asked was that kind of when you started getting into voice acting, or were you interested even before that?
It never really. I gave it. I was going to say I never gave it a thought, but I definitely noted when actors I knew got voice acting gigs, because I was like, boy, that is a club that's hard to get into. I don't know how you do that. And I didn't really have any particular thought that I would. But the Star Wars stuff got me into that. I got to skip the line a little bit, because all I knew was film and TV. So then going over there, you find out there's a whole other world over there.
Absolutely.
And some of it is a world in which you're basically in your own house doing a session in your sweatpants. And that is when you love a job. You pet your dog, and you're like, hold on for a second. Kenobi! Okay, great. All right, perfect.
So,
not that we did that in the studio. I shouldn't say that they're all in sweatpants. They're oftentimes in the studio with other actors and director, but we have, during the pandemic, did a lot of voice work when we were stuck at home, and that was great. Right.
I gotta take us to one of the films you were part of, The Mist. Any fans of The Mist?
Yeah.
I love the story, I love the tension, the effects, as well as your performance. What was your sort of fondest memories of working on the film?
Frank Darabont's fantastic. And I got that, I thought when you said, I want to talk about this audition story, my most epic audition story was The Mist.
There's been a while.
Yeah. Because I'm walking down the street going to an audition that I just don't want to go to. I don't care about it. I don't want to do it. And as I'm walking down the street, there's a woman coming across the street with bags full of stuff. And she drops them in the middle of the street, and there's cars coming. And I look around, and no one's helping her. I'm like, come on. And I run out. I'm like, do you need some help? She's like, yes. I'm like, okay. Gather all this stuff up. I'm like, okay, where are we going? She's like, that building. I'm like, oh, great. I'm heading there myself. So anyway, we're standing in the elevator, and I got my headshot. She's like, you an actor? I'm like, yeah. Okay, where are we going? Oh, this is the office I'm heading to. Perfect, great. All right, I'm unloading all the stuff, and here, hey, this is Sam, he's an actor. Hi, Sam. Hi, guys. Okay. Hey, let's buy Sam lunch. Free food? Dude! This is great, I'm so happy. Oh, actually, instead of lunch, oh, damn. Do you want to read for something? I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And then they hand me some sides, right? And I think I just did the other audition, I did a bad job, I didn't even pay attention. Because these sides were really interesting. There was like a argument scene, and then there was like a romantic scene, and then there was this freaking out crying scene. And and they gave me I had 10, 15 minutes to look this over, to prepare to do it. 15 minutes. And I was like, I like these better. This is cool. I mean, and also, if I suck, it's not my fault. I didn't have any time to prepare. I have no idea what I'm saying. I don't know what this is. No clue. No clue. Okay. Come back after 15 minutes. She's like, you ready to go? I'm like, yeah. And then I do the sort of argument scene. And she's like, that's really interesting. You want to try the romantic scene? Sure. I did the romantic scene. She's like, Sam, that was really interesting. Can we try the third one? I'm like, sure. So I'm like, just give me a second. And I'm like, and then we do the crying scene, and I got tears and snot flying everywhere. I don't know what's going on, and doing all this stuff, and it wasn't me. And afterwards she goes, Sam, you may have saved me because, oh my God, you did every scene perfectly. Frank is gonna love this. thank you so much, Sam. I'm so excited about you. I'm like, okay, is this for like a TV show? No, it's a movie. All right. Well, thanks for not getting me lunch. And so I go down into my car. I call up my manager. I'm like, this weird thing happened. I walked this lady across the street and then blah, blah. And they're going to get me lunch, but they didn't. And then I read for this thing. And someone named Frank is going to love it. And it's a movie. Do you guys know what happened? And they're like, all right, type. Okay, that had to be Deb Aquila. I'm like, cool, who's that? Big cast director. I'm like, sweet. What's the movie? That's gotta be The Mist. I'm like, whoa. Like Stephen King's The Mist? Like, yeah. I'm like, whoa. I just worked for The Mist? Cool. What was that whole thing? Frank's gonna love this. Be like, that's Frank Darabont. What? Yeah, Frank Darabont's directing The Mist. I'm like, I just auditioned for Frank Darabont because they taped it and they're gonna give it to me. Yeah, that's cool. I'm so glad I didn't know that. This is amazing. So then I go home, the weekend happens, and then Monday I get a call. Frank Darabont would like you to be in The Mist. I'm like, whoa! Is he gonna buy me lunch? But that's cool. So that's how I got The Mist. If I had known I was auditioning for The Mist, I wouldn't have done probably a very good job. But because I was like, I don't know, okay, sure, whatever, okay, it wasn't me. In doing that, I got the role. So that's the lesson. I don't know what the lesson is, but that was it. And because I didn't prepare for it, I went to shoot Force Unleashed, which I prepared for a lot. But then when it was like, oh my God, are you worried you're going to go directly from Force Unleashed to shoot The Mist? Are you worried about preparing for it? I'm like, no, because I didn't prepare for the audition. Whatever I'm doing, apparently that's what he wants. So I didn't really prepare for The Mist. I just learned the lines. And I read the Stephen King novella again. But I was like, whatever Frank wants me to do, I'm sure he'll tell me. And that's how we did it. And it worked. Because he wanted the military guy to be, this is not a military guy, this is like a kid who listens to 9 Inch Nails. You know what I mean? This is like a goth kid who joined the military for, college money. This is not a kid who deserves to be there, and that's why it's so inappropriate that they're blaming him. You know what I mean? So, he was cool then. And because of that, I made a great friend in my life. Frank, to this day, is a close friend. I love that guy. So,
Y'all better clap for that. That's amazing. We unfortunately are out of time, but your biggest fan.
Time?
Your biggest.
What are you talking about? We got all the time we want. We got a time machine. Yeah. We can just go back and warn him.
Your biggest fan just so happens to be in the crowd. That's Big John right over there.
Yes.
And so it's up to you, but I'm doing right by asking for John. Would you please do your famous quote and scream Kenobi?
Come on, let's cheer him up.
It wasn't me, it was y'all.
It's your first con? I was going to say no, but it's his first con. All right, here we go. I'm going to blow up my voice. Oh my God. Lost. I am lost, but I can see him in my mind's eye. Kenobi. Kenobi!